Good afternoon, everyone. This is me again, your friend King David D. I have mentioned a couple of times about uh, my book that I wrote, and I just thought that I would kind of keep everybody in tune, so when it starts getting distributed around, that you would be familiar with the title of the book and uh, and the author, who is I, King David D. But a little bit about the book. The book is about, I am speaking in regards of my testimony in my relationship with our Father God. And also, I am speaking in reference of some of the things that I have experienced and that has given me the light that I know that my Father God had entrusted inside of me to be able to share with everyone about the adversary and a lot of the how would you say attributes, the characteristics, a lot of the things that you may ponder about what's going on in your life or somebody else's life. See, not only am I am a priest today, but I'm also a recovering cross-addicted drug addict. And I have 26 years of recovery, and I have been a child of my Father God all my life. So, I know, and a lot of people might say, how can you say that you was a child of God back when you were using drugs? That is when you really need God. Pray to God that you don't die. But I am so grateful to my Father God for keeping me. And a lot of the things that I saw that I've written about in my book about the adversary has a lot to do with the manners of life that we may see, and an individual as when we take our own personal inventory, okay, and when we know exactly where we are at in this existence. The other day I was talking with a gentleman, and so what he said to me was one of the things that we have a tendency to look on, and we were talking. I was talking about some of the things that I have participated in this world and not really gaining any mileage. Okay. So he said to me, by him listening in on what I was talking about, and he says, well, hey, it's these secret societies that's in this world that can keep an individual from really exercising their full potential. And so I had to respond to him, and I says, well, these secret societies, they can't stop our Father God. And see, and I didn't want to go into a sermon and start telling him about my life because I don't think he had the time to listen. But you know, I speak about how these what they call secret societies. Uh, let's just take one out of the hat, okay, and talk about the Masons, okay. Let's talk about the Masons and the things that they represent, you know. And so, you know, a lot of times, a lot of people, black and white, feel that there is something very, very shady taking place in our United States of America with the Masons because of their active relations in the church. And not only in the church, see, because my father was a Mason, and my mother was an Eastern Star, you know, and my brother, he became a Mason at a young age. And I can't say that it was something that I was not interested in, you know, because now think about it. Younger brother, father, and older brother active with the Masons. When you think that the young man might say, hey, Dad, so when are you going to take me so I can join? But no, I didn't, because, you know, that's the type of feeling that I had, you know. I wasn't really interested. But, you know, later on in life, I started hearing all these various different types of secret societies, like the Masons and the Illuminati, you know, and a number of other secret societies, KKK, and it goes on. The list goes on and goes on with all these secret societies that we have here in the United States of America, you know, and it could be, it's probable, you know, that we could. There's a possibility that these secret societies are one of the causes behind individuals being put in a difficult situation to where they have to resort to various different styles of life, if you understand what I'm saying. You know, there are young men that do result to crime due to the fact that they feel that they did their best. They put their best foot forward trying to upgrade their lives, trying to be a part of this country's civilization, in this society, you know, and, you know, all of us are not college material. So what do an individual do when he knows that he's not college material? And a lot of people get skills. They go to skill school and learn trades. And see, and that's a way that an individual can get their foot inside of the corporate door. Okay. And that was one of the ways, that was one of the directions that I had to go. And but all in all, I knew that I still had a lot of potential in a many other directions in life, besides just working inside of a factory or some type of production company, whatever you may want to call it, you know, and how blue collars are can get into various different types of companies without a college degree. And so this is where my book, Man-Made Purgatory, comes in. And when when I was speaking about the individuals that may or may not understand exactly what's going on around them, and a lot of times that, see, what's going on in this world today is that we are so focused in the secular existence of our world. No one really concentrates or focus on what's to this spiritual thing. How heavy can that get? How deep can I go in that area of life? Is there something to this spiritual thing? Having a relationship with God and knowing who the adversary is and understanding exactly how God and the adversary works in our lives. Now, there are a lot of people that claim that they're Christians, that say, yes, I am a born again Christian, and so on and so forth. But they don't have a clue. Trust me. I've seen it too many times. They still don't have a clue about the spiritual. They still don't understand exactly what's in between our Father God and the adversary. A good example I have to say is, you remember the book of Job, and how Satan was walking there in full, looking for who he could devour. And so God offered his servant Job. And so, Satan said, no, I don't want to mess with Job, because, I know that you got Job well protected, that you have your rim of protection around Job. So God said, no, okay. Let's say I give you my servant Job, and you can do as you will, but you can't touch his life. You can't kill him. So the devil says, fine, I'll take Job, and Job will be so frustrated, he will cuss you to your face. Now, Job, being God, knowing his insides and knowing everything about how his servant Job would handle the temptations of the adversary, of the enemy, he wasn't worried about it. That was one of my mother's favorite stories. My mother, she really loved that story about Job, and how Job held out against the enemy, against our Father God adversary. And also, there's another favorite of mine, is Jonah. We teach children in Bible school about Jonah and the whale. Okay? But when actually it was a fish. And so it was that God had instructed Jonah to go to these people, this tribe of people, to stop their ugly behaviors, or he was going to take them out. They was going to experience the wrath of our Father God if they did not straighten up. So now, what it was Jonah is like, this is the human instinct. you don't like somebody, a lot of times you may find somebody say, I don't even want to go and talk to them folks, you know, because they're lost cause anyway, you know. And now, see, I'm going to have to say that I had an attitude like that at one time, and I was living in Columbus, Ohio, and so so my church had put me in charge of the recovery center that they had. We call it Damascus House, and so I was also given the challenge to work with the people in the community, and I said, nah, I'm not going to do no outreach. You know, they can come and they can find themselves here. And so, by me being stubborn in that direction, while I would have the recovery center open, the little kids would come and they would, you know, come into the office and want to know exactly what was this agency all about. Now, I didn't want to work with the kids because I knew that was a hardcore neighborhood that I was living in. And but see, this thing that took place with me, the kids came to me and start just loving to come and talk to me. I didn't know anything. I mean, you know, I love kids, but as far as me going out of my way and trying to do something in a neighborhood that I know is a dangerous neighborhood, I didn't want to have anything to do with that neighborhood. But as time went on, these kids started to come to me and they would ask me, are you with that church over there? And I said, yes, I am. And they would say, well, Mr. Dixon, I want to go to church with you. Can I go to church with you? I'll say, sure you can. I said, but you got to go and ask your parents first. So they was really seriously had a strong drive to find out more about God. And this was something that the children had. And but the whole time while these kids was wanting to be a part of God's love, we had people inside of the church that did not like the ideal of the children coming there at that church without their parents. So what I had to do was I had to go to each and every one of them kids that love coming talking to me and have their parents to approve me taking the kids to church, because these children sincerely want to know more about God. But see, it was what we call religious individuals, church, holy denial, that did not want the kids to be there. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? But it's true. So when the kids would come to church, in the pews in which that I would sit every Sunday, they would come and they would line up and fill that whole pew out that I sat at down to the other end. And it's because I supported those kids. But see, I was having, we was having this back to school rally with the church where what we was going to do is we was going to go out there, and so they wanted me to oversee that and give away different types of school supplies and barbecue hot dogs and potato chips and so on and so forth for the kids and the parents, if they so desired to want to come over and participate. But the parents didn't want to come. But the kids, hey, they were there with bells on. And now, while we doing these barbecues and everything and setting out the little knickknacks for the kids to eat, now kids in the city, they worship gangs. Okay? They worship gangs. And so now, here were some kids that came to this program to get their school supplies. But then there was other kids across the way that called themselves some other name of a gang. You know, and so I seen two little boys around about, I'd say, 8 and 9 years old, and give or take. And they ready to fight, and their buddies is with them too. You know. Now, see, this is the type of destruction that goes on in the African American community. Where are the parents? It doesn't matter which one. It doesn't matter, mama or daddy. Not caring about how their kids conduct themselves away from home. And it will continue to do that. See, this is where the adversary comes in. And this is what I'll be talking about in my book, about the adversary. About how some of the simplest things that we overlook, to where we refuse to believe that the devil exists. See, to a lot of people, they look at having the devil in their lives is like saying that there is a boogeyman. It's a bunch of hogwash. There's no such thing as a devil. And see, and thinking like that is the proof that there is a devil. Because now he done persuaded our people in our community that he do not exist. That is one of the most greatest deceptions in which that the devil has put on man's attention, that he did not exist. Or, and if he does, he's not evil. Think about Eve. He convinced Eve that the reason why our Father God did not want her and her husband to participate in the act in which that God had told both of them not to do, or that they surely would die. Now, can you imagine, in the beginning of time, human knowledge in the beginning of time was like gold. So, the tempting information that the adversary told Adam and Eve was, no, God knows that if you do as I say, that you will have the ability and the capabilities of having the knowledge in which that God has. Now, that is a pretty tempting negotiation. That's something really tempting. Wow, to be like God. See, being like God, that was worth all of the gold in the world, all the riches in the world. To be like God, to have the knowledge of God. So that is what convinced them to go against our Father God's commandments. So where they could see and think about it, how Eve may have convinced her husband to participate in what she had took a plunge at. Husband, I did what God told us not to do. And I'm still here. I'm not dead. I am still here. See, this is the thing that we do not want to accept. So God tells her, and we should understand that whatever our Father God's commandments are, it's still going on today. Our Father God, He speaks to you, He speaks to me. He speaks to all of us. But see, the problem is, are we accepting what He says to us? Are we really understanding what He's telling us? You know, I would sit back when I was drinking and doing drugs and stuff, and I would sit there, see, because like I never let go of my Father God's hands. He never let me go. So, and I would ask God, you know, God, I need you to help me to be able to see what it is that you want me to do. So God would take my attention and He would direct it right on that cigarette that I had in my hand. And God would tell me, you got to cut that loose. You got to let it go. Oh, no, Father, I can't do that. This maintains me. This relaxes me, Father. Is there anything else that you want me to do? Oh, God, He would take my attention. He focus it right on that glass of beer there. Oh, no, Father, I can't let this. I'm not strong enough to let this go. This is a part of my relaxation. This is a part of me having my own recreation, enjoying life, eat, drink, and be merry. Right? So, you know, while I'm smoking on this joint, I said, now, Father, what else could it be that you want me to do? You got to stop smoking that herb. Oh, Lord, come on now. I can't do that. Now, there are so many things that we have in this world today that we refuse to say that our Father God has spoken to us to let it go. Yes, you know, just as well as I do, that God speaks to all of us, no matter where we are in life, no matter what we're doing in life. God still speaks to every one of us. Now, you may think, well, I got to go and ask my minister about this. You are just as important to God than that minister. And the reason why we rather go and ask our minister for advice instead of going to the source and speaking to our Father, and then understanding when He answers you. Because we do. We understand when He speaks to us. Yes, we do. I know I do. And children do too. When I was a kid, I would climb up in the apple tree in our backyard and I would talk to God. Now, I didn't have none of the other kids with me. This was a spiritual direction in which that God had put into me when I was just a young kid. I knew God existed back then. And a lot of my friends probably did too. But it's about our responses, the way we respond to our Father when He speaks to us. Do we want to listen or will we ignore? Just to say that I don't know. Just to play I'm stupid. Just to say I need to get a better relationship with God. You have one. And you know you do. You're just not responding to our Father the way you should. And now, if you refuse God, so are your children. See, because you're not giving your children proper directions in how they must put their attention in what direction and on what. You're supposed to start with them young. See, our great-grandmother would tell us stories when we was kids. And we would all sit around and listen to Grandma. And Grandma always has some very, very powerful messages to tell us. She used to tell us about how they used to have to hide books when she was coming up, when she was a child. They couldn't read. They would get in trouble if they was to read. It's what my great-grandmother, not my grandmother, but my great-grandmother, you know. And right today, grandmothers back then and great-grandmothers knew it was their responsibility to keep the kids in line. Yes, indeed. How many of you beautiful sisters out there that are grandmothers? Yes, yes. Taking care of business and working overtime. That is what a grandmother did when I was coming up. Working overtime. Now, we can depend on that type of advice, that type of a direction. But we will find a lot of our sisters today will listen to that minister's direction, in which that may cause dysfunction in our community. Not meaning to, and the women, since this man carries the title of a man of God, they will do as what he says. Now, we have some brothers in our community, good brothers. I'm not saying brothers out there trying to, make they women go out there and prostitute. I'm not talking about the brother that wants to tell his woman to sell drugs for him. I'm talking about the good brother that definitely is trying to do something about his life. But see, we refuse to look at the big picture. The elephant in the room. You know what that is? You know what the big picture is? Do you know what the elephant in the room is? I bet you all listening and you all got the wrong answer. The big picture is, and the elephant in the room is, that we are still in America. And as low key as it is, racism still exists. Yes, it do. Racism still exists. We must understand that we are a people and we need to correct one another when we see each other going down the wrong path. Help that brother that ain't doing wrong, but he's being done wrong. There are plenty of brothers out here that wants to get their lives together, but once they take attempt at it, we are so caught up in this secular world to where we refuse to see the spiritual and prepare ourselves for the spiritual and to seek what all that we need to do to have a stronger spiritual life. Because we are so spiritual. We are the people in this world today is so secular, so material, so physical, to where the spiritual don't have no room in our lives. Are you trying to grow spiritually? Are you trying to understand? When are we grabbing and reaching for our Father God's hand? Our Father God will let us know when we are doing what we need to do. We will see ourselves growing. And my grandson came here. I love my grandkids. He wanted to edge his way to come in here and to live with granddad for a little while because him and his girlfriend was having problems. No, you're not. You're going to do it just like I did. You're going to go to the homeless shelter and don't think of it as being permanent. While you're there and when you get out, do what you need to do to get out. Don't get caught up in that craziness of just because you're homeless that you need to go out with the other homeless fellas and go and steal and drink and do drugs. No. Do what you need to do to get out of that situation while you are there. That is what the homeless shelter was designed for. So we won't have to suffer. Try to get out of there as soon as you can. Save you. Put away some money. So once you get enough money, and these agencies that's supposed to help people find apartments and help people get into apartments, you will have your money to be able to move right on in, you know. Help our children by understanding civilization, understanding the system, understanding far more than anything else the adversary. the devil. Beelzebub, Lucifer, Satan, and the devil with all his demonic demons. You gotta know what they act like. You got to know how to defeat them. Because if you don't think they exist, that's when they're gonna kick your behind. Because you off guard. And you're wondering, why are you getting slammed so hard in this world? Because you refuse to believe. So, I just thought I'd get on here, and I hope you remember Man-Made Purgatory. It's the title of my book. And I touch on a good number of areas of my experience and how my Father God gave me all of that to write about and to eventually distribute. But see, I am running up against a wall. I am trying to go through a brick wall, because it's expensive trying to get a book published. But see, in the various different areas in which that I have been trying to seek assistance, you would think that various different organizations, people would support an individual that do have definitely a message to give to the world. Do I have a message, my brothers and sisters? And that was just a small bit of my message that I just spoke to you about. That's in my book. And I would love for my people to read my articles on Facebook. But see, here's the devil. It's getting close to where they're going to start charging to do things on Facebook. They're going to start charging for people to reach out and connect with various different agencies and businesses and correspond with the necessary correspondence that you're seeking. So, I suggest that now that internet is still free, open up one of your folders in your email and write them all down. Put them in your folders of your email. And keep note. See, because pretty soon the internet will not have a full. They still have the accessibility to give you and connect you with a lot of different types of important agencies, but you won't be able to get to them because they're talking about blocking average citizens from being able to go onto the internet and connect with the necessary connections that they are looking for. So, this King David D. thought I'd come on here today and share with you and say, I love you. Do you love me?